Welcome to the DNA podcast. I'm your host, Dion, and here's my co-host,
Micah.
Whoa, what movie are we reviewing today?
Maxie.
Mercy, starring
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt and co-starring
No one knows.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Ah. Wait, do you know Rebecca Ferguson?
No, but I did look up the actress so that I could say that for the intro.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So, come on. High energy start. Now,
We're here on episode number...
episode number 4. Look, the folks at home, they want to know. They want to hear your thoughts. They don't care about my thoughts. Guys, in the comments, comment how you don't care about my thoughts. You only care about the lovely Micah's comments. Let's hear hers about a broad overview of the movie Mercy.
Well, should we talk about the plot first?
No, I want to hear your recap of the movie. What's it about?
The recap is, it's a man who has to exonerate himself from the murder of his wife against an AI jury / court system.
Okay.
And he has 90 minutes.
That's an interesting concept. What year was the movie set?
2029, I
That's
think.
correct.
Yeah.
So only 3 years in the future. Do you think our criminal justice system will be representative of what we saw in this movie?
I hope not, but then, I mean, AI can go pretty far within a short space of time, and I do think there was like a slight undertone in the movie of like what could happen with government control. So, you know, in
Linking all your phones to the cloud.
yeah,
What about privacy? What happened to that?
yeah,
Out the window, guys.
in the wrong hands, I could see how, yeah, the AI could be left unchecked, and you know, we could end up with some pretty weird systems in place.
That's a fair comment. Do you want to take us into our first subtopic?
Yeah, I will. So, overall impressions of the movie. What's your overall impression?
Look, without saying too much, without knowing the remaining subtopics, I don't want to give too much away. So,
Just your top line. What did you think of the movie?
it was overwhelmingly mid. Look, Chris Pratt's character, Chris Raven, he was in a central location for the majority of the movie, with things happening around him, sure, but just not a lot happening. So it was hard for me to build a connection with the characters through a screen, essentially, you know, through a digital media device. Like, I wasn't seeing a face-to-face interaction, so it was interesting. It was different.
Okay. I think this might be the first pod where we kind of disagree. I was more favourable in my review. I actually thought this was quite good. I thought it was a novel concept, and it was obviously like a topical sort of thing. And I thought, we'll come to, I do agree about your point that it was obviously centered around one character and kind of in one location. But I do think that the idea was well executed, because if you had written that story on paper, like if it was a book or something, I can imagine that would be really hard to translate. And I think in terms of the execution, it was done for the story.
For the story.
I think it was done about as well as it could have been done.
I broadly agree. I think interesting concept. I think they could have done more with the execution, but also at the same time it was interesting that they chose to center it around the defendant, given a point I'll raise later on. Yeah, I think it had merits to be movie worthy. I was hoping for more. You see Chris Pratt in a movie, you just expect a little bit more.
Okay. That was going to be something I was going to ask you, is what is your attitude towards Chris Pratt?
In this movie?
In general.
In general. I think he can act. Like he's played a variety of different roles, not necessarily always comedy. Like he played that character in Passenger with Jennifer Lawrence. I wouldn't say that was comedy, that was more of a drama, the one where he was in space and he was the only guy there, and then he woke up Jennifer Lawrence and Michael Sheen's the bartender.
That ages ago?
Possibly.
That a long time
Possibly.
Ago.
So, I thought he was good in that. So I think he's a draw. We obviously reviewed Thunderbolts as our third podcast episode. Can't remember the name of the character that plays the Winter Soldier, but I think Chris Pratt's more of a draw than that guy. So I think you have Chris Pratt in a movie. Look, I'm interested. It does get me to want to go see this movie. Had they had some no-namer in it, would I have gone to see it? Probably not. So there you go. Chris Pratt's got me in the seat. It's got my $20 and your $20. So
do you think that would you rather see him in a comedy or a more serious role?
I think his personality does lend more towards comedy.
I agree.
But I think this was a type of role that anybody could have done.
Whoa. Wait, so is there anyone else you would have preferred to see in the role?
Preferred? I don't know, maybe it's hard when you are casting someone. You want a draw, as I said, so that people come and see your movie, but you are confining them to a very specific location. You're in the chair in Mercy, so you want them to have depth to their performance, and I just don't know if Chris Pratt delivered the value. Look, I think he probably got paid the least per word he's ever been paid, because it was basically the whole movie was just him just talking, which makes sense in the context of the movie. But I do think there's another movie with a similar concept, i.e. centered around a central location, that was a better overall performance, which I'll maybe explain later on.
Okay.
So I have a frame of reference, and I just thought Chris Pratt fell a bit short.
Okay, fair enough.
What is your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I didn't have any particular comments for or against Chris Pratt. I think I don't know him super well, other than maybe Guardians of the Galaxy, but from the little that I've seen of him, I do think that role, he just is that character.
The goofy guy.
The goofy guy. It does work for him.
Like in Wanted.
Do I think that his performance in this is going to be nominated for some kind of award or whatever? Not necessarily.
No.
But, do I have any notes for him? I don't think so, really. What am I going to say to him? You know?
Yeah, it was more... Yeah, look, it just didn't feel believable.
Oh, you think his acting didn't feel believable?
No, because you think about the scenario that he's in, the mood shifts within a 90-minute time frame is quite drastic.
I agree with that, yeah.
He goes from waking up, being knocked out, and then 20 minutes later he's deep in an investigation on the phone to people, and if put me in that position, I'd be distraught for the whole 90 minutes and that's it. So, you know, I just, it was hard for me to connect with, and like he was, look, he's a detective, so I guess that makes sense. That's just how his brain works, and that's his job. So I guess from that perspective, that tracks. But it was too sharp of a turn for me.
Okay, yeah, interesting. In terms of like expectations versus reality, because we did watch the trailer beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
how did watching the movie differ from what you were thinking when we watched the trailer?
That's a great question. I would actually like to hear your thoughts on this first.
Well, we actually didn't watch the full trailer, to be fair, because we got about 3/4 of the way through and you were like, already want to go see it, but don't want too many spoilers. So we interrupted it. So with that caveat, I thought that based on the vibe of the trailer, it was going to be like a bit more kind of creepy intense with the AI vibe. Whereas it was, I wouldn't say it was lighthearted, but it was fairly like, after the first kind of 10 or 20 minutes, it was fairly mellow up until almost the end in terms of like the vibe, considering this guy is like effectively on death row.
Yes, I agree. The trailer gave the impression that it was really Chris Raven versus Judge Maddox. But it got to a point where they were almost working hand in hand.
Yes.
So it wasn't almost him versus AI, it was how can I use AI to assist me exonerate myself, which wasn't the vibe that I got from the trailer. I thought it was going to be more Terminator Skynet-y, where AI is rising up and is all hell's breaking loose because it's got a thought process of its own, and it's capturing innocent people and judging them and executing them, and how the heck can we stop this? But it wasn't really that vibe at all.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, shall we go into overall theme? I feel like we've kind of touched on this, but I think this idea that AI can kind of uphold justice was an interesting one.
I have a problem with the concept.
Oh, okay.
AI, so the system can access everything. And Chris Raven, the character, even, I mean, he was integral in the construction, the promotion of this system, even says during the movie, look, we both know that you've already decided my fate before I've sat in the chair. It's got access to all the information, all the phones, all the cameras that the Chris Pratt can access throughout the movie. What's even the point of him being in the chair? Is it to give a false sense of him being able to exonerate himself, which he, spoiler, does end up doing? But surely the AI system, with all of its capabilities and all of its networks, could figure out on itself. I just think there's literally no point of having it. It's just a front for crime deterrent, which is likely what it is. I mean, that's what
For sure. I
Chris
mean,
Raven's
yeah.
character hints at.
I think that's kind of the irony of like why that character is in that position, right? Is the fact that he was involved in kind of setting it up, and then it's kind of now he's in the firing line.
True.
Yeah, it's about creating an illusion, and I guess they kind of allude to that at the end, where his partner Jack basically says that they needed their first case to be slam dunk, and like they were prepared to kind of bury evidence to do that. So
What is... So we haven't really spoken about this Jacques character.
yeah.
Look, what's her motivation before like getting the mercy system to a point where it's effective enough to prompt her to bury evidence?
I guess they don't super go into that, but you kind of get a sense of where there's the scene where she's chasing the lover guy in the building, where you see kind of the chaos on the streets, and they do kind of show a bit of footage at the beginning of how LA's become totally like in a state of anarchy with the cops kind of trying to control people and whatever. So maybe it's kind of out of this desperation of like it was almost like a war basically. The police are getting shot, the residents are, you know, going absolutely crazy. So I don't know, desperation. The other thing that I had commented in terms of the theme is like what you were saying before, this idea of the AI working with the humans, which was a bit of a kind of unexpected theme. And I guess like you could argue that the AI is only as good as kind of the prompts that the human gives it. And I guess
for sure,
you know, that was kind of what they were showing with him going through his detective process. But then it does sort of reach this point where Judge Maddox does kind of go like, oh, you've missed a critical step here, like you need to follow a clear sort of thought process and you've missed something, which is interesting. Like I don't know that AI would be that generous with you with like that,
especially if it's programmed to essentially convict people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to talk about our favourite scenes.
Oh yeah.
I want to hear, what's your favourite scene from this movie?
I really struggled with this, but I think if I had to pick, I think I liked the scene kind of near the end where the truck was coming for the Mercy building, because I was like, okay, it's actually getting a bit intense now.
Okay.
Like there was the part where it seemed like they had an opportunity to sort of stop the truck or blow up the truck or something,
Blow
and
the truck
then
with the RCXD, yeah.
and then yeah, that doesn't happen, and then the truck is like coming for the building. Yeah.
Built a bit of tension for you.
Yeah, built a bit of tension.
You were excited for something a bit different than the previous 75 minutes.
Yeah, fair.
I want to see if I can find a comment that I made.
Okay.
About my favourite scene. I struggled to pick a favourite scene because nothing really stood out. The film never fully commits to being a tight psychological thriller or a big sci-fi spectacle. It sits awkwardly in the middle. And I think that rings true in this scenario. I think when I was deciding my favourite scene, I think I said the chase scene between Jacques and the lover in the red zone, because, I don't know, there was something of interest, I guess. Like, we were like, oh, let's get this guy because we think this is going to lead us to some more clues and whatnot, but bloody hell, it was hard. Nothing really stands out.
I'm thinking of a movie that I think has done this kind of AI topic well.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
Have I seen this movie?
You have.
AI.
Well,
Do you love AI? Do you love ChatGPT? Oh yeah, Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
True. Yes, that's true. I had forgotten about that. Yeah, true.
And do you know what's interesting about that movie as well is that it actually is kind of centered around, well, not one character, but I guess kind of just two characters in one location. And yet it does work, and I think because it kind of leans into this creepy
for sure
vibe.
And uncertain, unknown, you don't know what they're thinking. Yeah, I totally agree. If you're looking for an AI movie, you've heard it here first. Micah, Dion, we've both recommended Ex Machina. Oh.
Yeah. Would you watch that movie again?
100%.
Yeah.
Would you watch this movie, Mercy, again? This is a hot take. Here we go. Maybe it's not a hot take. Would you watch the movie Mercy again, Micah?
I would watch it, but like it wouldn't be as good as the first watch.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Because you know the plot, you know who the baddies are, you know the red herrings, so I get that from that perspective. I would never watch this movie ever again.
Oh my gosh.
Look, it didn't do, and this is similar to it's an overarching theme with movies, maybe since starting the podcast, because I'm thinking a little bit more deeply about the character development, the lore, the world building. This movie, Mercy, didn't do a good enough job for me to care about the characters. I was going to say maybe except for Chris Pratt, but broadly I just don't really care.
I think what's hard is that from the beginning, even though, I don't know what you think, but I assumed that he was innocent. Like, I did believe when he said at the beginning, I'm innocent. However, the way he's conveyed in kind of the first 10 minutes is obviously not favourable. Like, he's portrayed as someone who is, you know, a drunkard, unstable, has a temper, is potentially abusive towards his partner, all of these types of things. And so if you're talking about, like, you know, what has got me to kind of care about this character, well, you've kind of been set up in that first 10 minutes to be like,
this guy's a bit of a douchebag. Yeah, fair enough. You know what? That's a very fair comment. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
So no particular highlight scenes, no particular best scenes. Did you have a worst scene?
A worst scene. What did I think was trash? Aside from the whole movie.
We just watched the flippin' Avengers one. And are you really calling this trash?
I'd rather watch Thunderbolts than this movie.
Don't listen to that. That is incorrect.
I at least enjoyed.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So you
Thunderbolts.
Okay. All right.
Look, I couldn't pick a highlight, and I'm struggling to pick a low light. I didn't really think about this between when we've watched the movie and now. I wasn't a fan of basically every character that we saw being misrepresented in some way. Like, no one was actually who they said they were. Jack wasn't who they said they were. Rob wasn't who they said they were. Chris Pratt's character wasn't who they said they were. Everybody is just... The wife wasn't who they said they were. Everybody's someone different. So, you know what? Like, just give me some consistency. Give me some characters that are actually who they say they are. Why is everybody... Like, I get that you're trying to have plot twists and you're trying to create mystery, but bloody hell, mate. Just give me something.
Yeah, I didn't really notice that during the movie, but you're right. That didn't bother me in the movie. So shall I take you through my likes and dislikes?
Please.
So my likes, my number one like is...
Is it me?
From the movie, I should say. But yeah.
I was watching the movie with you.
Oh yeah, true. So you're my number one like from the movie. But my
you're
second...
my number one like. Did you know
that's so nice. My second like was, I think the execution was excellent. Like, as in the editing and the production was excellent. If you are imagining him looking between the server and the computer, I think the way that they did that was very tasteful. Like, you know, it's like a bit blurry and then it's kind of cutting over. And the other thing that I thought is they were able to kind of show a use of technology which was futuristic, but I think not kind of like wildly unrealistic. Like, she had the flying
quad bike
thing.
Yeah.
Like
hovercraft.
Yeah, I thought it was
drone.
It was
drone.
Believable. I thought it was credible.
Those do exist currently.
Yeah.
They're just not used by the police.
Yeah, I just thought it was credible.
Look, we're only 3 years in the future. Which is...
I know.
That's scary, guys. If you're out there robbing stuff, I'd probably stop now.
What did you think of the AI actress?
Rebecca Ferguson. I thought she did an okay job. I thought The writing behind it was pretty mid, but I thought her portrayal of the AI judge, jury, and executioner was sufficient.
Yeah, I think she did a good job. I think, yeah, whilst I guess the whole story together didn't kind of give the full creepy effect like Ex Machina does, her acting did give the slight creepiness. To the extent that she could within the script.
Yes, I agree. I think her full glitching out towards the end was a bit cringe.
Yeah, what do you think that was about?
It was Chris Pratt's gut feeling that messed with he messed with the coding behind the Mercy program and got her thinking with her gut, and therefore the program just started to fail and stuff. But I don't care about that. So I did think, that was was it unnecessary to the story? It kind of was. Like, I mean, Mercy did give him the tip about ripping the battery pack out of the thing and giving an 80% probability, so I guess that's helpful, but because then he had Mercy in his ear while Mercy was chatting to the baddie on the screen, and I don't know. It all kind of fell apart.
Yeah, I do think there were two possibilities I was imagining which didn't play out. One was that I thought at the beginning when he was kind of saying, I'm innocent, I didn't do this, I would never hurt my wife, that the footage that was being shown by the AI was potentially fabricated, or he was being framed, or it was like somehow generated by AI, and that was going to sort of set him up or whatever. I thought that was one possibility that didn't play out. The other one was that if he had been involved intimately in setting up the program, that he would know how to override it. But that kind of wasn't how it was framed. It was like him just acting as a human, and somehow that humanity was enough to break the AI, which I agree was not fully credible.
In the trailer, it gave the impression that he was hands-on in the development.
Yes,
but
I thought he was like a computer dude or something.
Yeah, but what actually ended up eventuating, I think he was just one of the promoters for it. He was an advocate for the program, but wasn't actually integral to the design and creation and coding and engineering behind it per se.
Do you think if you're a tech bro seeing this movie that you would be more or less annoyed than your current review?
I think I would be happy as a tech bro, as someone interested in AI, both of which I don't really care about. But if I was that person, I would be broadly more excited, because I think this movie, for those who see it, will be more accepting of this type of system in the future than those who don't see the movie. So,
oh, really?
I think so. I think if you have seen this movie and you hear, hey, AI is going to start to be used in criminal trials, you'd probably be like, oh yeah, well, fair enough, that makes sense. Whereas if you haven't seen the movie, you'd be a bit scared. So I think if you're a tech bro interested in AI, you might look at this movie and be like, shoot, I might start trying to get involved in this space to make some money.
Oh my gosh. Terrifying.
Do you not think?
Yes and no. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a favourable portrayal. I mean, I guess it had a good outcome for the good characters.
Look, I just don't think any advertised use of AI broadly, which is my favourite word, has a positive context to it. AI is always seen as bad, taking jobs, a threat. So, and I don't think the only people who should be worried about a potential AI jury is the people that are going to potentially end up in the chair. So if you're doing nothing wrong, I don't care.
I think that's assuming that the AI model is good, right?
Yes, but it requires people to put them in the chair in the first place. So you have to be captured in some way and then
could
judged.
be framed.
Yes.
Which is kind of what happened to this guy.
Yes, true, but it's the vast minority.
Food for thought.
Look, it's the vast minority report.
That's a reference I don't know.
Tom Cruise movie.
Oh, apologies.
Anyway.
Yes, I thought that the plus and minus in this movie was the pacing. Because I liked that they didn't linger on anything. Like, they did keep it moving. Like, any of the scenes that they were sort of cutting in and out, the little video clips and whatever, they didn't linger on anything too long. However, at times I think they could have had a bit more breathing space, and that probably plays into your, like, why do I care about this character thing.
Yeah, they kind of had no choice given the script, right? Like, you can't have Chris Pratt sitting in a chair talking to the love interest or chasing the love interest for 60 minutes because that's your whole movie. So they had to keep it moving given the constraints. Like, this would have been a bloody cheap movie to produce. You got a bit of special effects with all the graphics and whatnot, but man, everybody knows how to do that these days. So I don't, admittedly, but it's not a hard...
We don't have special effects on this podcast, sorry. Lower your expectations.
That's right. Look, have me zoom across the screen. Perfect. Look, it's not 1999 anymore, so people can do that, and look, AI could do that. You could say, make this scene look like this, and you've just got Chris Pratt sitting in a chair and green screen all around, and they could probably do it itself. So, yeah, cheap movie to film. There wasn't really much of a set per se. Of course, the sets are in the videos, but you can get away with a lot more because you can have crapper quality, shaky cam, so you don't have to be nitpicky about details because you're not going to see it. So
one thing I realized reflecting on this movie is that I agree that the one location thing is just never going to be as interesting to me, and obviously they've kind of interspersed stuff, but do you know what I realized is I think I feel different about TV shows versus movies being set in the one location.
Give me an example of a TV show being set in one location.
So, for example, Big Bang Theory. What the episodes I love the most, or that I enjoy, are always the ones that are around their apartment, like the usual locations they go to.
That's true. There isn't much variety now that you mention it.
The episodes where they go to like other locations, for example, a few times they go to Comic-Cons and they're stuck in the desert and those types of ones. I don't ask me why, but I just enjoy them less. There's something...
It's something about the creature comforts.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fair.
Whereas in a movie context, I think I feel the opposite. That if it's in the one location, I don't enjoy it as much.
Look, you're going for a short time, not a long time. You wanna go through the emotions. You wanna see things. You know, it's like if you're going on a holiday. Do you want to go on a holiday and see one thing? No, you want to see lots of things. So, I get that. I would like to bring up a movie that was set mostly in one location that I think was excellent, which is...
I don't know what it is.
The movie Locked.
Okay.
It came out last year, 2025. I saw, I don't know, half a dozen or 2 dozen new movies last year, and it was my most underrated movie of the year. I went in with very low expectations. This is now not about Mercy at all, but I have to give this movie a shout out because maybe we'll do a podcast episode on it one day, but maybe we won't, so this is my opportunity. Locked, similar concept, criminal, stealing cars and breaking into cars and stealing stuff, breaks into this car, but it's been a trap set by some rich dude who's dying and just tortures this dude stuck in this car. Obviously, the mastermind behind the design was Anthony Hopkins, who iconic voice, so just the perfect character for that role and perfect voice for that role. The character that portrays the criminal, Bill Skarsgård. I'm not a big fan of Bill Skarsgård, but bloody hell, he was fantastic.
Why are you not a fan of him?
I just think, look, I get his, like, he plays Pennywise the Clown in It. The remake, I'm more of a Tim Curry kind of guy, so it's hard for me to connect with Bill Skarsgård because he does the remake of a movie and movie and character that I already liked. I didn't see the need to remake. They modernized it, and I think he does a good job. Didn't enjoy the movies at all, but in that movie, Locked specifically, man, he does a good job of acting in the space that he's confined to. I would rewatch that movie in a heartbeat. It was fantastic.
What do you think about that movie made it work despite being in the one location?
It's his performance. His
Right.
performance is so believable
Right.
as a desperate, kind of druggy type of guy who is confused and angry and desperate. His portrayal is just spot on. It was one of the best acting performances I've ever seen. And look, he was stuck in a car for 90% of the movie, 95% of the movie.
So should he have been cast in this role?
It's different because, and this is something that, this is a good point that I've only just now thought of. Bill Skarsgård, not tied down, he had the confinement of the car to roam around. Why they should have given Chris Pratt that same opportunity. There's no point having him tied down.
Could have been locked in a cell.
He could have been locked in a cell.
Yeah.
Given the ability to act with his hands. He was tied down at the hands.
True.
And all his emotion had to come from the face. And that is quite limiting. There was no reason to not just have him wake up in the cell and be confined to it. It could be a concrete cell with, digital displays everywhere. Give him a bit more range. Give him some tools to elevate his performance. So I think he was hamstrung by that, which is creative and direction. Nothing to do with him unless he was specifically involved in those decisions, which I just don't think he was. So Bill Skarsgård gets the tip there because he could do whatever he wanted. Like he was kicking at the windows, kicking at the doors, and trying to rip into the wiring of the car. Imagine Chris Pratt trying to rip into the harness of the chair to try and, change things, and the AI program flipping out because he's trying to change stuff. We didn't get the opportunity to see any of that because his hands were tied for. Look, he was no threat in that room. So what's the point? You can look, if they're like, oh well, someone's going to need to come in and arrest him to execute him, whatnot. Just gas him.
I mean, it's a good point about how he could, really kind of elevate the performance. I guess, like, after the first 10 minutes, the sort of sense of panic is almost gone because he's just, like,
100%.
in detective mode.
That's right, and that's what I come back to with regards to the mood shift. He was confused as he woke up. He didn't know what was going on, but very quickly did he switch that up and go into detective mode. And
fair. Any other dislikes I had? I think I have one more dislike.
I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Okay, which was, well, we did kind of touch on the whole AI sort of getting bypassed, which did kind of make it lose a little bit of credibility, I think, and it was a bit unclear sort of how that happened. Like, in particular, where the whatever device it was sent to blow up the truck, and then he says to the judge, like, oh, did you do that? And then she doesn't respond. And it's like...
Did she not? Does she have the capability to do that? I don't know.
It's just weird that in certain moments, particularly near the end, she is responsive and forthcoming and helpful.
And
but
look,
in that moment, he's asked her a specific question and she doesn't respond.
if she has the capabilities to stop that bomb, why doesn't she have the capabilities to stop the truck bomb? Boom.
True.
This bomb's just exploded. Mic drop.
I think the part that I particularly didn't like, if I had to pick a weakest scene, is we've essentially gone from the strongest scene to the weakest scene, i.e. the truck hurtling towards the Mercy building, very suspenseful, the daughter's there, she's at risk, but then the dialogue in that scene falls apart. I think the part that tipped me over the edge is when he's talking to the Judge Mercy and he says something about, we're always learning, and then she kind of echoes back a similar line about we're always learning. And I'm like, that's such a weird platitude to kind of end on. Like, it just seemed really trite at the end of all of this. She's like, yes, we're always learning.
I think he should have just driven into the building and blown the whole thing up, called it the end of the movie. Like, what was the need to get out? Does he want to specifically kill Chris Pratt's character? He seemed pretty... The Rob character, the baddie, seemed pretty set on just blowing the crap out of everything. He don't care specifically. Like, he doesn't like Chris Raven, but he should equally not like Jack, who was... Well, actually, the more guilty person in this scenario, but he's gone specifically after Chris Raven, so that's also a bit confusing. Why he singled out this person when there was actually several people, and actually people who are more integral to the success of the Mercy program, and yet he's gone after this one guy specifically. Anyway.
Another angle I was thinking that this movie could have taken is that, again, even though from the jump you're led to believe that Chris Pratt's character is not necessarily, a good person, or that he's done things that aren't great, there's still this sense that he's innocent from the beginning.
Yeah, there's no point in the movie that, or from the trailer that, look, because he wakes up in the chair, it just, the vibe of the movie gives off he's innocent and he has to prove it.
What I thought they could have done, and I'm not sure how they would do this, if instead you actually didn't know whether he was innocent or not.
Well, that's
if
what
they'd set it up in a way
that's what
that
I was...
it was genuinely ambiguous to the audience, and you're thinking the whole way through, oh my gosh, did he, didn't he? Like, I don't know what to think of this character.
That
would have built the tension.
Getting, like a 10-minute look into his life before the chair, like him, being at home and having to sneak away and drink some booze and getting angry and breaking her favourite vase and just getting the sense that he's a bit of a douchebag, and then all of a sudden he wakes up in this program because he's blacked out and forgotten stuff, and you're like, well, is this guy I think that would have set it up a little bit better, because you've already going into it looking at him waking up in this chair, you're like, well, I know this guy's kind of a douche. Was it him or was it not him? Whereas because he literally, the start of the movie is him in the chair waking up, you're like, well, there was no part of me that thought he was guilty.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, interesting choice, but
I mean, I thought the super predictable route, which gratefully they didn't take, is that he could have just, finally got his guilty threshold just below the limit within the couple of seconds before the 90 minutes.
Gets the 91.9%.
Yeah.
And you're still really guilty, but you're just not execution worthy, so that's a question I've got.
Yep.
So 92% was the threshold to get executed. It's not explained what happens if you're 91.9% guilty. Do you go to jail? Because invariably they still would exist. Are you banished to the red zone? Are you set free?
Don't know.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about that, but the other part I was weirded out about with that whole percentage thing is the fact that he was on, kind of high 90s%, the whole movie, and then at that one point where it all kind of shifts, he goes down to 0%. And I thought, I don't think that there would be really anything that an AI would say is 0%.
Yeah.
They should...
Make it like a 1% or something.
Yeah.
That's fair. if someone is 91.9% guilty, what do you think the right outcome is for that person?
We're not being a court, we're not being a judicial system today. This is a kiki, this is a movie podcast. We're not here to be the court system, okay?
Overruled.
Okay. Do you want to get into scoring?
Yes, I do. I think it's about time we wrap up this review. I think no fun games. I think we've actually done a pretty good job of reviewing this.
Okay. I'm really nervous because now, after having this discussion, I want to lower my score.
Look, maybe because I don't want this is why we have the podcast. We're allowing our own individual thought process. I don't want my views to taint your views. You're your own individual person, guys.
But I do think
the chat, you don't have to, side with my views or side with Micah's views. You're allowed to view your own opinion. If you think this is the best movie you've ever seen, you're wrong, but I will allow you to have your opinion. So I want Micah to stick with her original score. This is for a clip. Pre-podcast score versus post-podcast score.
Oh,
Give them both to me.
Okay, pre-podcast score is 8
out of
10.
Okay, that's high, guys. That's Wicked level high.
It wasn't quite on Wicked level, but I just was really... I think there were lots of issues with the script and the narrative that we've spoken about.
But
I think the execution was very interesting. It was put together very well. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Hence my reason for the 8.
Yep. Post-podcast.
Post-podcast, I'm going to say a 7.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I would like to remind the folks at home of my scoring system.
Yep.
If I would re-watch a movie, even if it's trash, but I would re-watch it, it automatically gets at least a 5. Now, there can be movies that I would not re-watch that can get more than a 5. So, would I re-watch this movie? Never, because I just don't care. But it does get more than a 5. Only just, I'm giving it a 5.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
And I think that's probably about right. I just can't bring myself to give it a 6. I just don't think it was 6 worthy. I think if you want a good example of a movie that worked well with a similar type of story and direction and writing and all of that, I think look at Locked, because it was just way better portrayal, made way more sense. If you want to look at a movie that's better with AI, I agree, Ex Machina is the way to go.
Should we put a disclaimer? Locked is in the horror genre, right?
I wouldn't say horror, it's absolutely a thriller. Would you say this movie's a thriller? Would you say, clip this, is the movie Mercy starring Chris Pratt a thriller?
I would say no, but what's crazy is based on the trailer you would think yes.
I would say it's a comedy because this movie is a joke.
To give shout outs, okay? Now we haven't received any particular additional fan mail this week, but we do have a shout out.
A shout out to the one and only Baby No Money, who commented on this amazing artwork. What did he comment, Micah?
He said, "This is insane," with multiple E's.
This is insane with multiple E's, and reposted it on his Instagram page. Now I want to shout out the artist. It's Dion Paints on Instagram and on TikTok. I think this is a great painting. Baby No Money agrees, so shout out to that artist. Just a job well done.
That's right. should we comment, because I think we've already decided what we will do for the next podcast episode. The movie is called Crime 101. So if you would like to follow along, get ready for the next podcast. It comes out on the 12th of February.
Okay.
Good timing for Valentine's Day. So it's got Barry.
Oh, that guy.
Barry Kerrigan, or however you pronounce his surname. Halle Berry.
Mark Ruffalo.
Nick Nolte.
Oh my gosh, not Nick Nolte.
This is a pretty stacked cast.
Okay, so that might be the next episode. There's actually quite a few good movies out at the cinemas, for this time of year. So it's an exciting time to be having a movie review podcast. Micah, where can you find us?
You can find us on Instagram at Movie Nights Podcast, or on YouTube at Movie Nights Podcast with DM. Our podcast you can find on Apple Podcasts, on Pocket Cast, my favourite podcast app for sure, or on Spotify. And I did actually receive one fan mail, I should say. If you're ever looking to see us in an audio-visual format, you want to see the visuals as well, it will be up on YouTube. Usually, unfortunately, due to Australian internet speeds, it will usually take a day longer than the Spotify upload. However, it will usually be up quite soon after the Spotify version. So if you have seen the audio podcast come out, but you would prefer a YouTube format, it's never far behind.
Look, and I'll be honest, the audio format, whilst it's good, you're missing the beauty, which is Micah. So for those listening on audio, you want to see this stunning specimen, because this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Aww.
So, I mean, too bad for all of those that are interested. I've locked this one down. So, look, I think that's a good place to wrap up this podcast. It's been your boy,
Dion.
And your girl,
Micah.
Over and out. Until next time.
Until next time.
Goodbye. And we're back momentarily to describe the overall... If you had to give 2 words to describe this movie, Micah, what would you say?
Small boy?
No, it's big!